All right. All right, all right, all right. So it looks like I am live. This is my first time using the Livestream platform. So bear with me as I figure this out and learn if it's going to be a cool thing for me to use. And I know it takes a few minutes for people to pop on, so I'm just going to wait a little bit. All right, so this workshop, well, more like a class, is really to support you to recover from a breakup with a fearful avoidant. So I think I have this thing like really high to where I'm not really like looking in the eye line. So let me lower that just a second. All right. Okay, so this live stream is really all about how to support you to recover from a breakup with a fearful avoidant ex. I'm really, really excited to host this stream. I would love to know if you're watching, if you could actually just comment and let me know that you can hear me. It looks like I'm getting all the green dots at the bottom and that my sound should be okay, but I just want to make sure that you can hear me. Okay. And it is Sunday night. It's 6 p.m. here in Wisconsin, so 6 p.m. Central Time, and I'm realizing this is a really late time to host one of these for during daylight savings time, because this is like the window of time when I get really, really kind of tired in the afternoon right after the sun sets and as it's setting. So noted to self, but the show must go on, so that is what we're going to do. All right. So I'd love for you to just comment and let me know if you can hear me. That would be fabulous. The comments should be open. As well, if you have any questions that you want me to answer live on this stream, then definitely go ahead and pop those into the into the comment section. All right, I'm noticing some people are popping on. Again, I'd really love to know if you can hear me. That would be super helpful. This is my first YouTube live stream, so this is a new platform for me, and I'm really excited to utilize this to teach. So very, very excited. Okay, all right, I would love to go ahead and jump in and get started because, as I mentioned, it's just a little bit late here. So I have been making a lot of videos about the fearful avoidant, kind of anxious, preoccupied dynamic. And I'm really excited to teach on this topic because I've helped a lot of people who have struggled with this hot and cold type of relationship, who have even gone beyond that and have been in abusive relationships with, emotionally abusive partners, and, really struggling, cutting off relationships that aren't working, or finding security in a relationship that has hope and that has a potential direction. So I love teaching on this topic. I'm really happy and excited that a lot of the videos that I'm making are getting a lot of great positive feedback. So thank you guys for doing that. And I'm really, really stoked to be creating some upcoming programs and products around this topic, because there's a very, I don't want to say easy solution, but there is a solution to this challenge if you're experiencing these types of relationships. And so I want to start to get into, in this live, to get into the steps of what it's going to take to really, hey, Heidi, what's happening? Thanks for saying hello. I appreciate it. To really break through this hot and cold dynamic, and also see how you might be playing into the dynamic, perpetuating it, right? It always kind of takes two to tango. So, okay. I just want to dive in. I got to tell you, I haven't done a live in a while, so this is a little bit new. This is a new, oh, thanks for saying hi, Andrew. I appreciate it. Oh, and then I just want to remind you guys to drop your questions in the chat. I would really love to answer them. I'll answer them towards the end of the live stream. And if you have a situation that you want some feedback on, try to provide me with as much information as you can about what's going on. Try to be as specific as possible without, of course, revealing too much. You know, make sure that you protect your privacy as well. So, okay, let's get going. Let's do this. So again, this is just a short class. We're probably going to go somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour, really just depending on how long it's going to take the material for me to cover the material. And we're going to talk about how to recover from a breakup with a fearful avoidant partner. And this class is for you obviously, if you're an anxious preoccupied partner, sometimes anxious preoccupieds and fearful avoidants are like glue, then this class is for you. This is also for you if you are secure. It really is for any attachment style. I'm not going to discriminate, and because that would be silly. And it's for you if you're just really tired of being in a hot and cold relationship, you know, and tired of not really being able to rely on whether your partner is going to stick around or not. And if you're tired of not really knowing if you can count on the person that you're with, you know, that's not a fun experience to have in a relationship. You want to be able to count on the person that you are in a relationship with. And, you know, also, as this draws out over time, it can be really damaging. You know, it can be damaging to your self-esteem. It can be damaging to your self-worth. And it can take precious time away from you being in a healthy, loving relationship with someone who's available and someone who is there for you. So this workshop is really I'm a little bit too high with this standing desk situation. It's driving me crazy. Okay. All right. So, yeah, if you're, you know, to really interrupt this pattern and start the healing process and move on. And of course, if you really truly feel like this person is the right person for you, then these steps are still going to support you, because, you know, my mission is really about helping people to move towards earned secure. No matter what attachment style you are, no matter what you have going on in your life, earned secure isn't just about being a, you know, healthy, stable partner. It's also about being a stable, solid human being. And so when I talk about attachment theory, when I teach on this topic, I look at you as a holistic person. And when you become solid as a person in your relationships and in life, you really can have anything that you want. You can attract healthy partners to you. And yeah, and I say this from a place of experience, not just from helping my clients with this kind of challenge, but also because I've gone through the journey myself. And for a long time, you know, share a little bit about my background. You know, for a long time, I've done, you know, a lot of self-development work, and for a long time I was looking for answers and didn't quite know what I was looking for until I stumbled upon attachment theory, and until I started working with somatic experiencing in the somatic experiencing program. So learning about shock trauma, learning about developmental trauma, and attachment theory literally changed my life. Like, it changed the very fiber of my being. So I am kind of an evangelist of becoming an insecure partner. So that's a little bit about my mission. That's about why I do what I do and why this is so important to me. But back to your breakup. Let's talk about your breakup. And I might share a little bit more about myself here soon. So here's what we're going to cover in the live. The first thing is we're going to talk about what your ex really thinks about you and about your relationship. often after going through a breakup with a fearful avoidant, you're kind of at a loss. You're just wondering, like, what happened? And how do I know if, was this relationship real? Did this person care about me? It's very confusing to be with someone who flip-flops so often. So I want to start to kind of break that down, because I think having clarity around that will give you some freedom and some peace of mind. The next thing we're going to talk about is how to process painful emotions post-breakup and release triggers that keep pulling you back. So, you keep going back to a relationship partially because of the person, but partially because your emotions are signaling that you need this person, that there's something about this, as I mentioned earlier, that it's like glue. It's like you can't move away. It's like you can't break off. And that makes it really difficult to actually process the painful emotions and to move on. And, this affects you just in relationships in general. So I want to get into that as well. And the final key that we're going to talk about is how to draw clear boundaries with your ex moving forward. So that is the final thing that we're going to talk about. And all right, well, let's get into it. Okay, let me see. Okay. Sorry, I have my notes over here, so that's what I'm looking at, and let's do this. Okay, just a little bit more info about what I do. I am a personal and relationship coach. I've been coaching for the last 8 years. I have kind of like a variety of background. I really started in traditional coaching with Landmark Education and Tony Robbins coaching program, and then really took a divergence when I stumbled upon trauma, started learning about trauma, it just completely changed the direction of my business and where I wanted to go, because I feel like it really addresses the core, the root of relationship and life challenges. And it's something that's very, I don't want to say little known. I think it's becoming more and more popular, but it is, to me, it just addresses certain root issues that I think other modalities cannot address. And what I've noticed as I've started to, become a somatic experiencing practitioner is that, when I work with clients, it takes them half the time that it would normally take to get results in my coaching programs. So that's really amazing. And all my clients have secure relationships with incredible partners, and that just makes me really, really happy. So I'm really excited to be sharing, what I do with you guys and where I'm coming from, and hopefully imparting some knowledge that can support you on your journey. Okay, so the first key is really understanding, what your fearful avoidant ex thinks about you and your relationship. All right, let's kind of unpack this. Well, the fearful avoidant partner typically has a couple of different coping strategies. There's the fawn side, like if we think about the 4 Fs, fight, flight, fawn, and freeze. The fearful avoidant will often have a fawn side, also known as their hot side. So the hot side is, when the fearful avoidant comes on really strong. If you've dated like a dismissive avoidant before, they're very different from fearful avoidance, because fearful avoidants are very vocal, like anxious, preoccupied types. They will tell you how they feel, and they can also be like really poetic about their feelings. They can really be romantics at heart, so they can come on really strong. The bee's knees. This is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for someone who adores me, someone who can really show their affection and love for me. And it feels like they finally, that you finally found this person, this ultimate person who will be not only a great partner, but someone who can like validate you and admire you in the way that you want to be admired. Anxious preoccupieds are also typically kind of hopeless romantics at heart. So in this way, the fearful avoidant and anxious preoccupied really are a match, right? Because they kind of speak very similar love languages. And, you know, fearful avoidants are also very creative. They have a tendency to express their love in this, like, these really meaningful, creative, profound ways. And oftentimes they can kind of see right into the core of people, you know, and they can say things to you that really just melt your heart. And they're also really passionate lovers, right? So sometimes relationships with FAs are just really hot, right? They're great lovers. They're hot to be with, and that can be like another aspect of the dynamic that is very enticing and can be addicting. And, you know, a part of this comes from the wound that the fearful avoidant has experienced, which is, you know, fearful avoidants range in what type of childhood they had growing up. Some of them experience severe abuse. Oftentimes, you know, when people experience that level of abuse, they will be a fearful avoidant type or a disorganized attachment, but they can have, you know, mental disorders like borderline personality, for instance. And so it really ranges on how kind of organized a fearful avoidant can be. And to me, attachment styles are like a map, but they're not the rule, right? So I look at attachment styles from the perspective of it's a spectrum. So oftentimes, though, when a fearful avoidant is very young, in some way or another, they are devoid of a stable emotional support and nurturing in their life. So that can, on the positive side, can make them turn around and say, you know, I'm going to be a loving partner. I'm going to adore the person that I'm with. And that's what makes them kind of come on really, really strong. They can be flattering. They can be incredibly complimentary. And they can also be really, really seductive lovers. So they can kind of pull you in to, you know, to their world. Let me just scroll up here. And yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, they're a lot different from the dismissive avoidant because they are often very affectionate, whereas a dismissive, you kind of never know. Well, again, depending on where they're at, you never know where you stand with them. With a fearful avoidant, it's almost like you immediately know where you stand with them, and sometimes a little bit too soon. So that's their hot side. So now let's talk about the cold side, which makes this whole thing confusing, is when they come on so strong and then something changes, you know, they get triggered and all of a sudden they turn off, and it's kind of like the light goes out in the relationship. It's not like there's a middle ground for them with a fearful avoidant. It's almost like, you know, it can be a little bit like Jekyll and Hyde. So it can be really jarring when they start to shut down. And unlike a dismissive partner, which again can be really consistent about their unavailability, right? A fearful avoidant partner can, when they shut down, and you as an anxious preoccupied start to move towards them in their shutdown space, they can become really volatile. They can become verbally aggressive or just aggressive in general. They can, you know, say mean things. They can say mean and hurtful things. It is almost like the opposite. Whereas before they were singing your praises, now they're kind of digging into your weaknesses, some of the places where you, and knife with the way that they go from hot to cold. So I just want to point out that this shift is unnatural, right? It's confusing. If you're in a relationship with someone like this, just the very act of this shift feels like a betrayal, especially if you're an anxious preoccupied partner. If if the romantic part of you has said, oh my gosh, I finally found this person, you know, they're giving me all of this love and adoration, and all of a sudden the light goes out. Well, it feels like a huge betrayal and a huge inconsistency. And so what's happening for them is they are acting on, like, why does this shift happen? They start to, says my table. I hope you guys can still hear me. Heidi says, this is all resonating for sure. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the feedback. I really appreciate it. Okay, it says my connection is stable now, so let me keep going then. So when this shift happens, what's going on for them is it could be a number of things, but they're getting triggered. Something has gotten too close. Something happened, right? And it's really hard to say what, but you could spend a lifetime trying to figure out what happened, but that's not really like your job to do. That's something that they have to figure out for themselves. But typically, they're getting into a space where they're experiencing too much fear or too much the experience of being trapped. And here's the trick, and I think this is really important to understand, is that you can't help someone through this. This is something that they have to understand in their own time. They have to understand that, oh, I'm feeling all of this fear and I want to run away. That takes self-awareness, and self-awareness takes time to build, and it usually takes a guide to help with that. And I know this because I have a lot of qualities of the fearful avoidant, and I have literally done work on myself where I've gotten really in touch with my fear and that experience of being trapped, where I know that that's something that could come up for me. And so I work through it to really understand, like, where's that fear coming from? Is that fear real? Because it's typically not. Most often the fearful avoidant is not being trapped, and they are not, the fear that they're experiencing is really fear from the past. But nonetheless, how that affects you is that they shut down and they kind of almost become cagey, right? Like that hostility or coldness is coming from a place where it's like you're almost like their enemy, which does not feel good. And again, is very confusing. So, okay, we could go on about this forever. I need to keep going with this. Let me check your comments. Okay. Andrew said, yes, same here. Awesome. Thanks for commenting, Andrew. So I wanted to just paint this picture for you because I think it's important to understand that this is confusing, and what it leaves you with is wondering and questioning how this person really felt about you. Was the love that you had real? Did they really care about you? And the truth is, they're both true, right? The hot behavior is real and it's true, and the cold behavior is real and it's true. And what's also true is your experience of the relationship. I think sometimes anxious, preoccupied partners are looking for evidence. They're looking for evidence that the person didn't love you, that your partner didn't love you, or you're looking for evidence that they did. Because if you think about it, if you're looking for evidence of one or the other, it's that evidence is going to then lead you to an answer, and that answer is going to do something for your psyche, right? It's going to fulfill some kind of need and create some kind of certainty for you where you can make a choice about this person, about the relationship. But that's not always how relationships work. Relationships aren't black and white. And not black and white. Very dynamic. In fact, people most of the time are like all over the map. So there is this tension, and I want to come back to kind of just imparting you with this one thing that ultimately, you can make assessments about this person, but ultimately how you felt in the relationship is what really matters. That's your experience, and no one can take that experience away from you. So one final factor that I want to add for key number one is your relationship dynamic and your history is also what impacts how this person really feels about you or felt about you. So I'm just going to list out a few of the things that, like, it's not just an attachment style that will tell you whether a fearful avoidant cares about you or not. That is, yeah, okay, I'm just going to pause on that. So it's also what happened in the relationship. You know, how many times were you on and off? Was there infidelity? Were you the one who cheated on them? Did something like that happen? You know, how did the relationship end? Did it end calmly, or was it really explosive and volatile? You know, were there really volatile and hurtful arguments? And how long did that go on? Did that go on for years? Those kinds of things really build up, and they build up a lot of resentments. And also what impacts your relationship dynamic is, you know, the psychological development of your ex and also of you, where you are in your development, and where they are in their development. So okay, let me just explain that one. So with that one, it's because when you know where your ex is in their development, like, for instance, you can have a fearful avoidant who's very self-reflective, who kind of knows what they're feeling. They know they get triggered. They know that they're moving away from the relationship, right? They have a sense of awareness, and based on how much awareness someone has, and then how much their actions mirror that awareness, where it's like, I'm aware and I'm able to change this, is kind of in the direction of integration, in the direction of becoming insecure. So, and again, the dynamic, the relationship dynamic, the final piece is whether you or they did something that really felt like a betrayal. So all of these things are part of the dynamic that have really nothing to do with attachment style, and have everything to do with, like, with the, I can't think of the word, with just like how things went, your relationship story, maybe that's the best way to put it. And your relationship story also impacts how your ex is going to remember you and think about you. So that's something that you have to get honest with yourself about. And that will, you know, help in supporting you to really understand where your ex is at now. Okay, I have some comments here. Okay, all right. I'm going to read these at the end. I'm going to keep going because I can feel myself getting tired. So, okay. Key number 2 is how to process painful emotions post-breakup and release the triggers that keep pulling you back. All right. So one of the things that I want to point out about this relationship is that it is a roller coaster ride. So if your relationship is like a roller coaster, if your FA partner and you get on this roller coaster together, right? Like, when you are by yourself, you have yourself to deal with. When you're single, you have yourself to deal with. When you're in a relationship, you are your own person, and now you have a relationship. You have this ecosystem that's been created that impacts your psychology, that impacts your nervous system, impacts your life, impacts how you think about things. You know, I had a relationship a few years back that was very like, we're close friends. His thoughts impact my life to this day. Some of the ways that I think about the world impact me to this day, and will continue on for the rest of my life, probably. So when you get together with a volatile partner, or a partner who's on and off, who's hot and cold, you're getting on this roller coaster ride with them, and you're on the ride together. And then they choose to get off. And they're like, all right, see, I'm done with this for now, or maybe forever. But that doesn't mean that you have gotten off the ride, right? Now you are a part of the roller coaster, and the ride may very well continue for you, which can lead to a lot of emotional upswings and downswings. Again, from personal experience, I was with someone who was kind of fearful avoidant for a period of time. And I remember there was a point I was like, I'm addicted to the highs and lows of this relationship. You know, when we're together, it's amazing, it's passionate, it's everything that I want. And then when things end or he goes away, right, it's like the depths of despair and pain and sorrow. And while that was painful, there was some part of it that was also kind of addictive to me. And it took a while for me to finally let go and go, you know, this is enough is enough. So what's happening here is that your abandonment wound is getting triggered. There's something from the past that is playing into the present. Let me see what I wrote about this. Yeah, there's something about the relationship that feels really familiar to you, which is why you keep hanging on. And while it's uncomfortable, while there's maybe highs and lows, there's something about it that's reminiscent of something from the past that says something about this is normal, something about this is natural or feels familiar, even if it's uncomfortable or painstaking. So there's a part of you that's getting that's addicted to this relationship, addicted to the dynamic. And there's a part of your wound is getting triggered and kind of pulling you back in. And it's the wound that makes you then act from a childlike place when you're in this dynamic, right? Where you kind of lose sight of your own center and what your needs and wants are, what your adult needs and wants are. And you get off center, and now you're playing out something else. Something else in your psychology is getting worked out in this relationship. Because, you know, on some level, you know that it's frustrating and it's awful, but there's a part of you that isn't moving on, right? So there's this kind of like dichotomy in your mind as well. And so really working through this wound is really the solution to navigating through this dynamic, and also to like having a healthy relationship in the future, whether it's with this person or with someone else. So I wanted to give you just a helpful list of emotions that people typically avoid feeling when they're going through this grieving process. And it really just kind of prolongs your pain and your heartbreak. So I'm going to give you these emotions, and these are things that you probably experienced at a very young age. Yeah, okay. That was the end of that thought. So the emotions are hopelessness, despair, resignation, anger, resentment, and fear. Okay, these are some of the most painful things that anyone can feel, because they really tap into our deepest wounds. You know, when you were a child or even a baby and you needed to have your needs met, you didn't just want to have your needs met, and you didn't, these were the things that you felt. You know, protesting is another, you know, kind of response to these types of emotions, right? So tapping into these emotions is the key to starting to move towards Earn Secure, because I'll just tell you, most people have no awareness of these emotions. They kind of have like a mental understanding, like a logical mental understanding, but they don't have it like deep down in their body. Like there's a physiological experience that you're having when you feel these types of emotions. And when you move away from them, right, because they're too painful, because they're too much, because they bring up too much from the past, then you keep repeating over and over and over again with the same people. And I'm going to tell you how to work with that. So definitely stick around. All right. I'm going to read your comments at the end. Thanks so much for all the comments. I really, really love that. You guys are commenting, but I think, YouTube's algorithm or whatever it does, I was told that I should keep talking until the end. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so key number 3, how to draw clear boundaries with your ex moving forward. Okay. So here's the reason that boundaries fail. Boundaries fail because most of the time, boundaries are made for the other person and they're not made for you. Most of the time when we start to kind of, again, boundaries is another one of those things that's like a concept that is like really hot right now in the therapeutic and the coaching space. And but it's difficult to understand because boundaries are, there's so much. I mean, we could do a whole course on boundaries, which I probably will. So, but typically we make boundaries for the other because of the other person. It's like a reaction instead of an action, right? Instead of acting and saying, I'm going to put this boundary here, I'm reacting. You hurt me, so now I'm going to push you away, or I'm going to put up this wall because you did something to me. So it's usually a response to kind of like ice out your partner or to show them, right? And it's more of like an acting out. This is why boundaries fail, because often they're coming from this place. So you make a boundary from a place of being activated, right? So think about that. You're making a boundary from a place of being activated. And in that case, then it's not really a boundary, it's a reaction, right? It's like you did this to me, so I'm going to push you away. So that's why boundaries fail. So now we want to tune into, how can you, the first step is really creating boundaries from a place of like, no, I want this, and this is why this is important to me. This is how you, I guess my hair is just itching my face because I keep touching my face. Okay, so, so boundaries need to come from a place of, I'm doing this for me. That's when boundaries start to work, and that's when you will hold to your boundaries. So I'm going to give you just kind of 5 steps that you can take to set a boundary and keep the boundary. So the first one is prepare mentally and emotionally. So before actually doing the boundary, you want to check in, see why you're doing this. Why are you creating this boundary? Why is this important to you? So that you can kind of mentally and emotionally prepare. And that way you're making a boundary from a place of authenticity, I think is the word, right? Like authenticity and integrity instead of from a place of, again, reactionary. So the second step is getting clear on what the boundary is. What does it look like? What are the kind of confinement, the parameters of the boundary? If you imagine a boundary being a line, okay, like how long, by when, what does it look like? Get really specific on what it is. Because if you don't get specific on a boundary, if it's just like, I don't want this person in my life anymore, that's not a boundary, right? That's a statement. But if you get really clear on, I want to take some time from this relationship, I want to take, 60 days, and then I'm going to check in with how I feel, and then I'm going to reach out. Well, now you've created a set of rules that you can follow and you can hold yourself accountable to. Then you want to determine what you're going to say to your ex. So, you want to own your feelings, own your needs, and own what you are wanting. You want to keep it short and sweet when you set this boundary. And you want to be prepared for the sting that follows. So one other reason that boundaries fail is because people, it hurts. Like as a anxious, preoccupied partner, one of your deepest fears is being abandoned. So setting a boundary feels being like you're abandoning someone else, which is like the thing that you would never want to do to anyone else, which is why you often stay in relationships for far too long, right? So preparing for the sting of that boundary is going to be important. Okay, yeah, so those are the 3 keys to recovering from breakup with a fearful avoidant. And I'm going to answer your questions. I'm going to look at the comments here very shortly. But before I do that, I just wanted to share a quick opportunity for you that I have coming up to really help you integrate, because I just gave you a lot of information, and you can go and try these tools and try these things on your own, and that's totally cool. And I would love for you to do that and, hit me back and let me know how that goes. But ultimately, these things are really helpful when you have a supportive community, a supportive guide, and really people that can hold you accountable. Not even hold you accountable, but you're on a mission together, moving towards something that is meaningful and important to your life. So I'm creating a rolling group coaching pod that is going to support you in your breakup recovery, and it's going to include bi-weekly calls. We're going to talk about themes. I want this to be a rolling program, and I really want this to be for people who are committed to their healing. Yes, getting over a relationship, absolutely, that is so important, but really beyond that, like really moving towards integration, moving towards earned secure, so that you can have inner peace of mind, and really attract healthy relationships into your life. Fearful avoidants aren't bad people. Like, they're not. And some of them are working really hard to move towards earned secure as well in their own way. So if one of the things that you really want is to have your ex-partner back, well, one of the ways that you can do that is by becoming earned secure yourself. It really only takes one person to start to shift the relationship and shift the dynamic towards earned secure. I say this because I actually experienced this with a friend who had done a lot of work on herself. And when I met her, I was, who is this person? She is just like solid. And becoming her friend was something that really helped spark my journey towards becoming an earned secure person. And her stability, her, just being a rock, was something that was just incredibly life-changing for me. So when you can do this, when you can start to move towards earned secure, it can provide this experience for you. So in this program, I want to cover themes. I want it to be it's a loose program. It's something that is organic, that's created by the group. It is going to cover boundaries. It's going to cover connecting to your needs and wants and desires, and really focusing on healing the abandonment wound. And it's going to focus on the narrative, right? The narrative that you had with this ex, really getting clear on your experience of that relationship so that you can close the door and set it aside, but also really learn from it, right? Really learn from that experience. Because oftentimes, I say this a lot, when we just kind of black out the past, like, screw this person, I don't want this person ever in my life again, I don't ever want to think about them, we actually cut ourselves off from a lot of healing that can happen, and from learning some really important lessons on why we attract certain partners into our life. So getting really clear and processing your experience of the relationship is going to be really potent and powerful. And this group is for you if you're really ready to move on, even if that means just right now you want to like really clear the space and give yourself what you need right now. It's also for you if you're really tired of being wrapped up in someone else, right? If you're just kind of tired of thinking about someone else and you want to reclaim yourself and your own experience. And if you want to see the relationship clearly and again, like learn the lessons. And it's also for you if you want to move towards earned secure, and if you want to be a part of a group and co-regulate with a supportive group and I think it's ultimately really supportive and nurturing relationships that can move us forward towards earned secure. And this group isn't for you if you're looking for manipulative strategies to get your ex back. Sorry, but that's just not the program. If you're not interested in learning from others or being self-reflective and seeing, how their experience could mirror yours, then this probably isn't for you. And if you're not really ready to take responsibility for your experience, and if you're not interested in being self-reflective, then probably you're just not going to be a great fit. You're not going to enjoy this program. Okay. What I'm going to do is this group, I'm really excited about it. It's going to have bi-weekly calls. It's going to be super cost effective because it is a beta program. And I want to just make it easy and effortless for people to join. So what I'm going to do is if you're interested in the program, I'm going to drop a link in the comments. Okay. And I'm going to give you a gift for attending. You can get the transcript of the class. Obviously, I'm going to send that tomorrow, not immediately after you kind of opt in and give me your email address. And I'm going to give you more information about how you can join the program. Okay? Okay, so now let me read your questions. Let's see here. Holy crap, you guys wrote me a lot. They can love just as much as an AP, but they fear being vulnerable so much due to their past that when anyone gets too close, APs tend to get way too close. They pull back hard and fast. Absolutely. I did not take my FA ex-girlfriend breakup as a personal rejection. I took it as her rejecting having a relationship at the time. Yeah, that's a really great way to look at it. Either case, me as an AP got far too close to her as she retracted hard and fast. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. And so, noticing that, right? Like noticing what is it that makes an anxious, so anxious, preoccupied. I love that reflection, Adone. I hope I'm saying your name right. Adone or Adone, I don't know. But that is the key, right? That is the thing that is going to support you, is if you can understand why you get so close. What is it about that? Like something gets triggered in you that needs to move in. And that's the challenge for APs. And unfortunately, when APs do this, they can ward away more secure partners, right? Partners who are kind of confused by the quick movement into a relationship and who generally want to take it slower, which is more of an earned secure partner. And I describe it as, I feel like I just ran a marathon when the roller coaster finally ended. Yes, absolutely. Felt like a sustained full-pace sprint. Looking back now, oh, I didn't drop the link. Let me just do that before you guys go. Okay, I put the link in the comments. Hopefully it works. Let me know if it works. That would be great. Okay, let me skip down and see if there's any questions. Oh, you guys are asking questions. Okay, I've seen my ex twice now since the breakup, his initiation, Heidi, to talk, and the last time he kissed me. I need to set a boundary around this because I don't want to fall into the same pattern. I'm not sure how to determine the boundary because I do want to get back together, just not our same dynamic. So physical intimacy seems like a train back to old relationship. Am I right to say no? Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you always have a right to say no, absolutely. I think that's where you want to start to check in whether, you want to say yes because you think that it's going to make him want to get back with you, or if you're saying yes because you genuinely want to. Now, you may want to say yes because physically it feels really good, right? Sexually it feels really good. But, there might be a deeper part of your being that's questioning that, right? If just saying yes because it's going to feel good is the right thing for you. So I think this is definitely something that you can work through in the group program. So I would totally love to have you. Oh, and you said the group sounds great. Awesome. Yay. Have to go, many thanks. Thanks for joining. You're probably gone already. Thanks so much. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's it, you guys. If you have any questions for me, I'm also going to drop my email address, but I would love for you to just opt into that link that I sent. That way I can, reach out to you guys, let you know about the group program, and send you more helpful information. And that way you can ask me questions via email. All right. Any questions at all? You guys are hanging around, which is awesome. I'm going to be doing more of these lives. I'll probably do a similar live again. And yeah, thanks for joining me. This was really fun. Thanks for listening. Thanks for engaging. And I really appreciate you guys watching my videos and commenting. So definitely check out that link if you want to know more about the group program. Again, it's going to be bi-weekly calls, probably like 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on how big the group is. And my goal is also to not make the group so big. So once we get to like 5 or 6 people, I want to break out and do another group, because I really just want this to be an intimate experience for people. Yeah. All right, you guys. Thanks so much. And I will see you on the next one.